Okay, recording is started and the presentation is up. Okay. Hi everyone. So tonight we're actually at our last study unit. So study unit 11, and we will focus on the regression tonight. What I just wanted for you guys in this session tonight, I will share a bit of how to do things on Excel as well. You are when we do some of these things, you guys are allowed, the 1610 guys are allowed to use Excel. You are allowed to use financial or scientific calculators, because again, if we look at some of the work tonight, there's sometimes just some easier ways to do some of these questions. So when they give you data, I like to use Excel to work out some of the questions, but you are allowed to use financial scientific calculators to work it out as well. I know I've got the HP, but for this kind of data, it's not the best. But if you have a HP, there will be a data component that you can put in data. But if you have a Casio or a Sharp, they're very nice calculators to also work with a data component. But tonight I will show a bit how to use some of the calculation within. Oh, okay. That's interesting. Is that for 1610 or for 1510?
Hi, Jean. Yes,
Yes,
it is for 1610. I specifically asked the lecturer because I've been building a spreadsheet from I think assignment number 3 or 4 with
yes,
pre-populated formulas in, so it makes it easier. But
exactly.
we are not allowed to use that. We will only be allowed to open up a clean Excel. I don't know how that iris actually determines whether the Excel has formulas in or not.
Now that is, and have the lecturer said what proctoring tool is going to be used?
They said iris.
Okay, so I know they used Iris in the past. Let me, and I will confirm with him what proctoring tool. Um, but it is weird because it's none of the proctoring tools can really pick up if something is clean or not. So that is quite interesting.
It will take a lot of time to build the formula in
Exactly.
Excel for you to be able to use it. So now I'm thinking, how must I go about prepping for the exam? Must I go use my calculator for all of the other modules, except now maybe for module that we were discussing today? So yeah, that's interesting. Something that I just thought I'd put to your
Okay,
attention.
so okay, great. So I will also just find out later tonight from him about the proctoring tool, but that is interesting about the pre-populated Excel, because, and it might be because there has been a few shared in the previous years, but that should not be an issue. What I have picked up last year was that you didn't really need Excel to work out some of um, in most of the questions, Excel wasn't even needed. Um, But for tonight's one, you need to have at least a calculator or Excel, because even if they give you the information for the formulas, you still need to be able to at least be able to put it into something to work it out. Thanks for that. I will just make also 100% sure about that, because then it's not great if then Excel is just a nice calculator in most of the instances, because if it needs to be clear, then the problem with that is you're going to spend so much time on Excel itself that it doesn't make sense. So I will get that from him, and then what I will then do for you guys as well is nearly, if it's not allowed, we'll do a short thing that I will put together for formulas for the different study units and what might be the easiest route to get to some of those things. So even when if you have a one pager with some information on, so that is also something that you can nearly do, is if you're not allowed to have Excel with the formulas, we might provide you with a PDF with some of the formulas and ways in Excel if you need to do it. So let me think about a way that will work for some of these study units. But for study unit 11, I'll definitely want to show you guys, if we get a set of data like this, if I don't give you anything else, then I will use Excel, because if to work it out via the formulas that we will also share, I'll share the formulas that you have it, but to actually, if I look at this, just this instance, if I now needed to work out this via the formulas, it will take me lots of time. Okay, so let's just check. If I now needed to work out the sum of x, okay, that's not too bad. There it becomes a bit already more difficult, because okay, I need the sum, then I need the average, then I need each one. So again, we can set up as you need it for the as we will do the problem, which will not be that time consuming. But even if you look at this one, it does take time. And then if we need to get B, U, or B0 and B1, so let's look at B0. You will need to have B1. So that is the formula for B1. So then what I would recommend is definitely to check for calculators that, so I know the Sharp and Casio are great calculators that have a data function that you put in X, Y of all the data, and then it will calculate a lot of things, as I'll show you in Excel as well. Yeah, thanks for that. I will definitely make sure and see, and I'll ask him why, because it might be that is planning to set up the exam that you don't need to have it, because I know the 1510 guys last year was not allowed to use Excel. And in the end, they actually also did not need to use Excel. So let me just make 100% sure for you guys about that, and what else you are allowed to do and not, and what the proctoring tool will be, because I thought the proctoring tool will be more the ones that you are currently using when you're writing assignments. So let me just find out all those things that we just make 100% sure. Okay, so when we look at study unit 11 on regression, an important component of this is also some of the theory. So they do love to ask questions on theory on study unit 11. So they love to ask the questions around the relationship. So and specifically this where they say, so they really love to put this into one of the options normally that you need to pick. So it's an association of two variables where one is known as a dependent variable y and an independent variable x. So this is something that they love to throw into a theory question. What they also love to put in a theory question is actually, I'm first going to skip some of the definitions, but is this one where they talk about the relationship of R and all the possibilities. So if R is close to 0, what does it mean? If R is between a certain thing, it is weak. If it becomes bigger between 0.5 and 1, it's a strong relationship. The other thing that happen also with R, it is a number between -1 and 1. So what they also might put in a theory question is, if a number is -0.7, they will say it is a strong negative relationship. And what they might then do is to say, well, if it is plus 0.7, it's a positive strong relationship. So just keep in mind that for all these that they say there's no relationship, there's a weak linear relationship, there's a strong relationship, there can also be the negative component of that and the positive component of that. So just to nearly visually show that, and that's also when we go through some of the examples, I will show that in Excel as well, but there's other things that is also important. So if we see, so let's say the relationship is strong and it is positive, it will look like, say, something, it will lie in between those things. But when the relationship is positive, your slope will also be positive. Okay, so if we get to an answer set and they ask us what the slope is, the slope and the relationship will always be the same sign. Okay, so if the slope is negative, your relationship will also be negative. It might be still a strong relationship, but it will be a negative relationship. So I think that is just one thing that, and I will show that when we do it, the question, so that you can see that coming out in the answers as well. Then the other important thing about, so when we work out R, we look at the correlation of coefficient. So that is R, and it lies between -1 and +1. And I will make this just slightly bigger. So -1 and 1, but so that's the correlation coefficient. But then we also get a coefficient of determination, that is R square, or it can look the bigger R square as well. Okay, so that is coefficient of determination. And what you will see with coefficient of determination, because there is a to the power of 2, it doesn't matter if your R was negative 0.7 or positive 0.7. If you square that, your answer will always be positive. Okay, so that basically means that your R square answers will always be between 0 and 1. Okay, so that is also something that they love to put in the multiple choice questions of a bit of theory. So, and I think I've got 1 or 2 in our slides tonight. I will also put some in our slides for Sunday, that I can just show you some of those questions, so that you know R is the coefficient or correlation coefficient lies between -1 and 1, and coefficient of determination R square lies between 0 and 1. Okay, so that is some of the important aspects from a theory point of view. What have happened in previous exams, so it will also be interesting and good to see your mock assignment for assignment 5 when that gets loaded, because what I have seen in previous exams is that they sometimes give us these answers. So they might give you what y is, they might give you, or what the average of y is, what the average of x is. So I don't think I have one of those questions in tonight, but I will put it into Sundays. Because, and that might be also why the lecturers said that the Excel need to be clean, is that when they do that, they actually don't give you data. So that you then need to use the formulas to work it out. So that might also be an instance where we don't need or nearly can't use Excel is unless you want to put it into this type of formula, then it would have been nice if it was pre-populated. So let's look through these questions, but then I will add a few questions in as well if we don't cover it tonight into Sunday's session, that we just cover a range of questions, because again, I think it's important that we just cover, even if it is not covered for your assignment, then at least we have it covered in the exam prep, that we just make sure that you don't get caught off guard in the exam. Okay, so let's quickly make this a bit bigger. So this is the first question that I want us to look at. So here they give us the data. So there's nothing in this that now we can suddenly just say, I'm going to use this formulas, because they will not ask you to work out something like this, where you're not allowed at least to use Excel. So that's why it might be that they say, well, you can use Excel, but it needs to be clean. So let's do this. So let's quickly open the Excel workbook. Let's make it much bigger. So let's just first, I'm going to first just put in the data, and then I'll show you all the functions that is in Excel, so that at least it might go quicker. So even if we put in the data, you also not we need to make mistakes like I now just did. So then you need to also be very careful what you put in. So the other way of doing this is if you have a calculator that has, and all the financial calculators and the scientific calculators have the data portion, that you can put in the data numbers. So it might just be different, that some calculators make it that you need to put all the X values first and then all the Y values, and some of the calculators want you to put in the X and the Y value. So just when you have those calculators, just make 100% sure as well you know how to use that stats or data function that is available. Okay, so we've got our X, we've got our Y. So they telling us that we need to basically tell what is the regression line. Okay, so two things that we need in the regression line is we need to know what the slope is, and we need to know what the intercept is. Okay, so the slope goes with the X. So basically, we will need to work out what is the slope. And you can see in this one, all the slopes are different. We will need to work out what the intercept is. All the intercepts are also different. But some things are similar in some of the questions. So look at that number and that number, that number and that number. So here, what they nearly gonna want to check is if you know what's the slope, because if you work out the slope and you put it at the wrong thing, then you're gonna get it wrong. Okay, the same with the intercept. So yes, it's fine to work out the intercept, but do you know that the intercept is the one without the x? Okay, so again, your calculator or your Excel can work it out, but then you still need to make sure that you use it correctly in the formula. So let's look at the slope. So there is, okay, so why did it not pick it up? Okay, so there is a slope function in Excel. Very important is that the slope function wants the y's first and the x's second. Okay, so very important how Excel works is with a lot of the regression, it wants the y numbers first and the x numbers second. So if we work out the slope, we see the slope is 1,31809. So we can see that that is the slope. Let's work out the intercept. And there's also the intercept function in Excel. Again, it wants the y numbers first and the x numbers second. And when we work that out, we also get the 35.8. Okay, and let's just make sure the slope is positive. Let me just make sure here what was that sign. Okay, so we can see it is a positive sign. So then that would have been our formula. Okay, let me just on this Excel. So just check what happens if you set slope and instead of putting the y's in first, you put in the x's first and you put in the y second, and look what happened. 0,18. Let's look at, oh, luckily there wasn't one that then made it 0,18. Thank goodness. So then actually you would have just seen that you would have gotten a wrong answer. I just want to see with the slope as well. If you did it this way, hopefully also you didn't get an answer. Oh, wait, that must be intercept. And then there was also not an answer. Okay, so for this example, it was great. Okay, so let's quickly. So do you want to see how the curve will look like?
Yes, please.
Okay, cool. So let me also, before I do that, let me also add one more thing. So I want to just quickly check what is your correlation coefficient. So I just want to show you. So again, there is a nice function called correl that basically looks at your correlation coefficient. Here it doesn't matter because it looks at the two data sets. It does not worry if you look at correlation coefficient if it is y first and x, so it really doesn't matter because it's just looking at the data points. So for this correlation coefficient, it really doesn't matter. But you will see now the slope positive, the correlation coefficient also positive. So that's the one thing that will always be the same number or the same sign. Okay, so let's quickly see if I can do a let's quickly see if I can do a scatter diagram of this, but it is in Excel. So let me see. Okay, so this is quickly the scatter diagram. So you can see there is 2396, and that should not be like that. So here's the scattered diagram. So what would have happened is you can see this intercept is at 35,81. So it will be somewhere there. So let's see if we say needs to be, okay, that's weird. I will need to be able to say at there should be a function to say at grid lines. I wonder why that is not on here, but how it would have looked like. So let's put in just a line for us. So it's now not wanting to do that, but let's quickly add. I will see why this, or let's quickly check if okay. Okay, so that's the straight line because we're looking at linear regression. So you can see that is the trend line. So that is where also the R will be. So that's the correlation. So they now don't go through it, but if we extend it, that it will go through around 35. Okay, so let's see if we can add something extra to the trend line. Okay, so there the intercept was set as 0. So let's just quickly see what I can change here. So there we can see, so let's quickly check if I did R square. It is supposed to be that number as well. So R square is R times R. And so you can see R square is at least the same as what I was able to add to. So let's see what else I can do with the trend lines that you guys can also play with, so that you can just check what else you can include. That is more about the line. Okay, so there is your line as well. So that's quite cool. So you can now also see, so by displaying equation, there you get the slope of a 1,3181x plus the intercept. So if you set the intercept to 35,814, then it will go through it. I was now looking if there was anything else that, but obviously it just takes from that point, so it does not extend to. Okay, so that is just a few extra things that now on Excel you can actually play with. So what I would also suggest to you guys is that if you want to use Excel, it's not something that on the day of the exam you use for the first time. So what I will do if I were you guys, I will just, with all of these questions that have data, and I'm going to copy and paste all these files over. So I will share the sheet in any case with you guys that you can practice, but it basically is that with this a lot of practice so that you can just get the hang of it. Because again, if we were now looking at this and you were not using Excel or your built-in calculator, what we then needed to do was you needed to work out this. So you needed to work out all those other things. So that's why sometimes they will not ask a question like this unless they give you sometimes more information. So I will show you some of the questions where they give you nearly all of the information in that formula. That was in last year's one of the assignments. I know it was there, so I will get it for our session on Sunday. Okay, so a question that will come up a lot is theory questions, especially for this study unit. So here they give you, consider a data set containing number of pages and price for n number. N is 15 books on a professor's bookshelf. The correlation coefficient R was calculated as 0,474. Okay, so that's it. That's what they tell you. So they don't give you data. So they don't give you a slope. They don't give you a y-intercept. So all the questions will then be related to the R, but they might also ask something about R square because you can still work that out. Okay, so just be very careful that they can talk about the correlation coefficient, but there can be coefficient of determination might be involved in the discussion because you can get from R to R square. Okay, so which one of those following statements is incorrect? Number of pages and price are directly related. Well, the correlation coefficient is 0,474. So yes, it is directly related. It might not be a strong relationship, but it is related. So that is the first thing is, yes, it is related. We're not talking yet about the type of relationship, but it is related. Then they say a scatter diagram of the data will show an upward slope. Okay. it's a positive coefficient. When it's a positive coefficient, the slope will also be positive, so it will show an upward trend. Okay, so that is again important, and we could see it here as well. Slope positive, then automatically it will be an upward trend. The more pages a book has, the higher the price. Well, because it has an upward trend, this tells us that as you continue, the more pages, the higher the price. The lower, the less pages, lower the price. So there are a relationship. So there are then a relationship between price and pages. So the more pages a book has, the higher the price. They could have also said the less pages the book have, lower price. Okay, so it goes both ways, but yes, the higher it is, the higher, but then also the lower it is, the less. Okay, so again, it goes both ways. Coefficient of determination will lie between -1 and 1. Okay, so that one is incorrect. The correlation coefficient R is between -1 and 1. But if we go to R square, that is between 0 and 1. And so that is definitely then wrong. And then if there is absolutely no relationship between the pages and price, R will be equal to 0. And that is true. So if R was 0, no relation. Okay. So again, they love asking this, especially in the exam. So it might be that in your assignment, remember, you get 10 questions, 5 questions on study unit 10, 5 questions, study unit 11. So assignment-wise, they might give you a question like this, a question like 1 or 2 questions of this. That's why I want to bring in where they give us basically this in numbers. So I will in Sunday's session bring that in, because that is another question that they will ask in your assignment. Okay, another example of how they can ask it in a definition. So if all the points in a scatter diagram lie on the regression line, then the correlation coefficient R is. Okay, and you guys can quickly put in the chat what you would have said. So let's say all my data points lie on this line. So what would you guys have said will be my correlation coefficient? If all the points in a scatter diagram lie on the regression line, and you can put it in the chat what you would have gone for, because I want you guys to just quickly put that in, and then I want to check if I've catch you out or not. So please put in an answer for me because I want to explain a bit on it. Okay. Okay. Cool. So that's what I wanted to. Okay. Be careful with this one because we normally just think about the positive. Okay. So we normally just think about the positive, and they love to put this in because when we're not 100% sure, it's very easy to make that mistake of to say, we need a bit more information. So what I have not included is, but the regression line can also look like the negative slope. Okay, so the regression line here was positive slope, but it can also be negative. And you can have the numbers, all the data points on that negative slope. So that one will be +1, perfect. It's perfect linear line, but this one will be -1. Okay, so just be very careful because when I originally looked at this question, I was like, but why am number one not correct? But and what they normally will do in front of a question like this is they will, like this one, they will nearly make you think of the positive. So what I have seen a lot as well, and you guys can see nearly, it's working with a positive slope, so you automatically think positive. Then they give you the positive R, so you looking at that positive line the whole time. Then they throw in a question like this, and yes, +1 is correct, but you can also have the -1, which makes option 3 then your correct answer. Yes, Zolani, please ask.
Hi, Jean, and the rest of the team. So obviously, this the one of the questions that you, for say, for instance, for your number 1 and your number 4, you get, sorry, your number 1 and number 2, you get a half a point. Am I correct?
Exactly. So but I must also, that is important. Let me also just ask the lecturer about that in the exam. But that is where you guys would have gotten in the assignment if you said option 1 or option 2. That is where you will get 1 out of 2 points, or a half out of 1 or half out of. So that is where sometimes you will see that, where did I now get 1 out of 2? That is where you will get 1 of 2. So thanks for that question, Zolani, because that is where, so it's not 100% right, but it's also not 100% incorrect nearly. But yeah, I just want to ask the lecturer how they're going to mark it in the exam so that, again, at least you get some points on it, so that you're not 100% wrong. But that is where you guys would have seen in your assignments, the strange marking of 1 out of 2. But they tell you it's incorrect. So that is where it would have been. Cool. Thanks for that question. Okay, okay, so I actually have included it. Okay, so here they actually have given us both, but it can be that they also give us just this part. So I want us to, yes, you guys can go and test the data component. We can quickly do it here. So but I want us to focus on this component as well. So let me just check. The first one was question 1, and this is question 5. So I will share the spreadsheets with you guys on the WhatsApp group as well. But definitely will want to show you guys how we do this component as well. So let's just quickly change the data, and automatically, as I change the data, it will update the numbers. So again, that is now unfortunately what shared this evening, that you guys are not allowed to have pre-populated. I still don't know how it's going to pick it up, but let's not go into that now. Okay, 12 and 39. Okay, so I hope everything is right. Oh, okay, so sorry, I totally did it wrong. So it's 4, 12, 6, 16, 8, 25, 9, 30, 12, 39. Okay, that looks a bit better. Let's just make 100% sure. Okay, so we've got the slope that is 3,54. So automatically would have seen that, okay, that one is not, and we're looking for the correct one in this one. Quite interesting. Okay, so the intercept is also wrong. I'm worried about this one. So let's just, it is 4, 12, 6, 16, 8, 25, 9, 30, or 59. It's so strange we get a different answer. But where the R is 0,99, but the R square might be something different. Okay, so there the R square is something different. And then they put in a number as well. So we can see here the slope is 3,54. Okay, that is strange that those two are not the same. So here's definitely, and where it was also, so there's definitely somewhere in these numbers there was a mistake. So let's use this data quickly to work it out. So let's quickly copy this in. So also when you guys get a question like this and there's no data, it's only the summarized information that you get. Please don't start off with the most difficult, like the R square. Start off with what is nearly the easiest to work out, because if you're going to start with r square, then suddenly you need to make all of those calculations. So start off with the one that is the easiest. So yes, we need, for B0, we need B1, so we will do B1 first. And it might be, if we work out B1, which is the slope, that we can already maybe see between 2 and 3, we can nearly already make a decision. So let's do that. So let's look at the slope. So they tell us it is n times. So if I didn't give you the data, I need to tell you n is equal to 5. Okay, so remember we're sitting with 5 data points. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So n is not 10, n is 5. When they say the sum of xy, so there's the sum of xy. Then minus the sum of x. And the sum of y. And then divided by n, so 5. Then the sum of x squared, so they would have given it to you as well. X squared, 341. And now just be very careful what they do next in that equation. So then the sum of x, so there's the sum of x, 39 to the power of 2. Okay, so, sorry, just excuse me. Sorry, I just needed to get some water. Okay, so you can see that we now have everything in this to work this out. Now again, some of your calculators are great in working this out. I will first, on my calculator, I need to do a few steps. So first, the 5 times that, so it is 5410 minus 39 times 122. So some of your calculators will automatically be able to do this, so that you don't need to do what I do, because you can include brackets and all those kind of things on the Sharp and the Casios. And then at the bottom, 5 times 341 minus 59 times 59, 1521. Okay, so there one can start seeing, and I hope this is right. I will just need to multiply it out again and just check that the formula is also correct, because this might give me four or 6 minus, so that does not look correct. So let's just quickly check. 5 times 1082. That's that. minus sum of x, sum of y, n times x squared. Now, sum of x to the power of 2. And that's quite interesting. So let me just want to check something. So while we are busy with this, I just want to check if there is not a mistake in the data. So that was 122, that was 39, so that's not a mistake. That comes that. Okay, so it is. It does give us the 102. Let me just quickly see why this is not working. So 5 times 1082, that is that. 39 times 122, 4758. If we do subtract that, it does give us the 652, so that is correct. 5 times 341. Okay, that is where. Just check again for me as well. 5 times 341. Okay, 1705. I made a yoch. 1705. Okay, 1705 minus 1521 gives us 184. Okay, and then 652 divided by 184 gives us a number that we want, 3,54. Okay, so that is for B1. Okay, a lot of work. So again, this is nearly where if they only give you this component, it does take a lot of time. And then you make one simple mistake I did where you just change two of the numbers around, and now you wonder where you went wrong. Okay, so the slope is 3,54. Okay, so we know that is incorrect. That is incorrect. So we know at least that is correct. Okay, so then the next thing I would do, because again, I don't want at all to go here with a coefficient of correlation. So I would then say, let's work out B0. I want to show you a trick on this coefficient of correlation without using that, but let's look B0. So they tell us it is the average of the Y. So hopefully they give it to you. No, so again, they would need to, okay, they don't need to give it because you know what the sum of Y is. So there is the formula. So the sum of y is 122 divided by n, which is 5. So that will give you that average of y. And then minus b, 1, which is 3,54 times the average of x. And again, I didn't give that to you, but you again can work it out as the sum of 39 it was divided by 5. Okay, so again, not quick. So 3,54 times 39 divided by 5. So that gives us minus 27,64. 122 divided by 5 is 24.4. So if I say 24.4 minus 27.64, I do get 3,24. See, so actual fact, so this is something that would be of a big concern if it was in your exam. So this is correct. So also, if you get something like this in the assignment where it is not the same, please let me know so that we can flag it with the lecturer. The same when we get to your exam. Please, in the assignment, even you can quickly take a picture. Don't do that in the exam, please. But in the exam, if you get a question like this, you let me know afterwards, and I will let the lecturer know so that he can go and check. Okay, question 5. A lot of students said there might be something wrong, and then they will drop the question or they will give you a mark. So let's just, if something like this happens, because if it was me in the exam, I would have said this one is wrong because it needed to be 3,24. Okay, so, but this one should be the correct one. So that is just, if something like this happens in the exam, please just let me know. Coefficient of correlation. So we're not going to work out that whole thing. So to test this, so we know coefficient of correlation is R. So if R is 0,99, your coefficient of determination, R squared, is 0,99 times 0.99. And that will be equal to 0,98. So then we know that this one is incorrect. We're not going to even work out if a coefficient of correlation is 0,99. So we're not going to go this route at all because we know that those two are not aligned. Okay. The way that we will work out this when x is equal to 10, then the estimated. So we will need to know what the straight line is or the formula. So we had it as y is equal to minus 3,24. Okay, in their instance now, 0.21 plus 3,54 times 10. Okay, so automatically, doesn't matter what, if that was 3,21 or 3,24, 3,54 times 10 gives you that. So it will be less. Doesn't matter what your Y cutoff was, it will be less. Okay, so that is also incorrect. What you can do on Excel, just to show you guys as well. So let's just quickly get, so this was the data. So there you can see your line as well. So it is nearly near perfect. So really is very close to perfect, because one would have been a perfect straight line. So what you can do is, in this instance, you can just say, okay, there I have my formula. So if I wanted to work out when x is equal to 10, we can say, okay, look at that formula. It is 3.54, but actually we can say, so let's quick, why is the slope and the intercept? So that is the slope. Let's just quickly, sorry, that's the slope. I'm going to put it there because I want to say 10 is equal, x is equal to 10, and then plus the intercept. Let me just do that. So let's quickly see, why is that wrong? I need to say multiply. Okay, so if we needed to work out when x is 10, the right answer would have been 32,195. So here now, again, if we say 15, it automatically changes to what your Y number would be. Okay, so again, that's why sometimes it's good to add the equation so that you guys can see it. So again, there's certain things in Excel that allows you now to see that, where on a calculator you would not have been able to visually see the numbers or the graph. Sometimes, even if you don't use Excel in the exam, just to make it easier for you when you do the assignment or when you practice, you can just see how it stacks up nearly. Okay, so that is, I have seen it in assignments that they sometimes just give you that set of information, and you need to work it out. Then that is why, again, I have shared the formulas, because I don't know if it is that detail in your study guide. So please, I will share the presentation again tonight that you have it available when you do the questions. Okay, this does come out of one of the previous assignments. So which one of the following statements is incorrect about some concepts of simple linear regression? Okay, question A. A correlation coefficient of 0.1 indicate a weak positive linear relationship between variables. Okay, that's correct. So 0.1 is positive, but weak. So that is perfectly correct. The least square method estimates regression equation by minimizing the error sum of squares. Okay, we did not look at that at all. So, and they have not included it in any of the formulas. So let's quickly check why it is not in here. So I just quickly want to check in your in the study guide why I have not put it in. And if it was not there, I will quickly just look at that component so that we get to that definition of error sum of squares. So, and it actually is some square errors. That is what it refers to. Because I don't think it was mentioned in your study guide. Okay, let's quickly show this, but we just make 100% sure that that's just the linear line, talk about things there. Okay, that's a straight line and the coefficients. Let's make sure. So everywhere we're just talking about intercept and slope. That is looking at intercept and slope. Again, here we only look at R and the correlation, coefficient of correlation and determination. Nowhere did we look at the squared sum of error. And nowhere, again, at the end of your study guide. So please go and check this as well. There is on the Casio and Sharp. So I wanted to just show you guys this as well. If you don't have this study guide, so here you guys could have seen that, and that's why sometimes we don't need to have Excel, but then you need to have one of these calculators, which not everybody can afford. So, but there again, you can do some descriptive stats on those. And it will also show you in the study guide how to get to that data components. Okay, so if you guys don't have this study guide where it has at the back all these functions, please let me know, because here you can also see how you can work out the regression coefficient. So please let me know, then I will share it so that you can see if you have the X and Y, how to put it in when you work with a one calculator and how you put it in when you work with the other calculator. So please at least let me know if you need the study guide. So sum of square error, we then actually have not covered in the study guide. So I want to quickly just give you what that means, and there is actually a definition of that, so that we just make 100% sure we cover everything. So sum of squares, and what I also just want to show you guys, so is the formula, because again, sometimes they, so let's quickly put it in here. So let's quickly do this. And then we'll just see that actual fact, so your sum of square error of your error sum of square, it tells you it's that formula, but I want to quickly include another formula for you so that you just have all of them. So let's look at, so they actually look at that is your sum of square error, or your error. Look at that SST. So that is now where we see that sum of square, it's exactly the same as that one. Not that one. This one. The only difference is the one is X and the other one is Y. Okay, so that is basically the difference. Cool. I'll share the study guide that I'll share it on the WhatsApp group. So I'll share that tonight with everyone on the WhatsApp group as well, that you have that study guide with everything in the back. I will also share with you guys the study note 101 with the formulas and the tables in it, that you have all of that. Okay, so in stats, here now the difference between the observed value and the predicted value. So let's quickly say regression equation by minimizing this error, and they should, it's okay, so that still does not really tell us exactly what it is. So let's, for now, on this one, mark that as not 100% sure. I will also get this least square method estimates. I know, again, it's not in the study guide, but I will have another one for you. So let me just get those definitions sorted out for you, that you have it before you need to do the assignment. Correlation coefficient, again, R takes on values between 0 and 1. So that's definitely incorrect. It is -1 and 1. The coefficient of determination can be interpreted as a percentage of the total sum of squares that can be explained using the estimated regression equation. So let's again quickly look at, so that is one, that is another one of showing it. So yes, it is. So the coefficient of determination can be interpreted as a percentage of total sum of squares that can be explained using the estimated regression line. And how we also see it is on this. So here they tell us the R square is 0.9848. So this regression line can predict that we will be 0.98% every time correct in the data point will be falling onto that line. Okay, so that is that it can be explained. Okay, so that is nearly where that comes in, and then the slope and the intercept of an estimated regression equation are estimated. Okay, so it is also correct, but I will, for the Sunday session, I will just include something on least square methods that if it comes up in the assignment, that you have a bit of knowledge around that, because there's nothing in the study guide that nearly points to this. So I will just add for Sunday's session 1 or 2 slides on the least squares method, that at least if it comes up in the assignments, that you have a bit more knowledge around that. So I will do that for you. So in this, there was a few ones that not 100% sure, so we know at least the one that is wrong, but I want to go into the least squares method a bit more in Sunday, so that on Sunday, so that we just make 100% sure that is covered. Okay, and then the last one. So again, here you guys can see we've got a data set. We don't have the information here like this. So again, here I would go and use Excel. So let's do that, but we will need to move this a bit, that we can put in a few more data points. And then when we draw the diagram, we will just redo it so that it corresponds to the right data set. So let's quickly do this. So let's just look at all the data points. X is 10, Y is 178. Also be very careful what I have picked up in 1 or 2 questions previously. Sometimes they write the top one as Y and the bottom one as X. I will get one of the previous exam papers that did that, because one is so used to getting it as XY. And I know in 1 or 2 previous exam papers, they have changed it around. So just be very careful that when you guys do it, that the X is the first one and the Y is the second one. I will also just afterwards check that the numbers is correct. But please, as I go along, just check as well that I type it in correctly. Okay, so let's quickly see 10, 178, 15, 274, 9, 155, 10, 207, 11, 208, 11, 184, 13, 224, 12, 196, 12, 246, 10, 168. So our sum of xi is 113, so that is correct. I'm looking for the incorrect one. Okay, let's see, and let's just make sure. Okay, so that's the slope, or sorry, the sum of y. So let's just make sure that these numbers are looking at the right ones. So the slope is 18,1. They round it off to 2, so let's also round it off to 2 decimals. So the slope 18,18. Slope is 18,18. Let's look at the intercept. Intercept is minus 1,49. So let's just make sure it is that data. So intercept is minus 1,49. Okay, so it seems like that one is the incorrect one. So let's just check the others. So what we can do is to say, okay, we put those in here. So what xi minus the mean, so x minus the mean, and that will be to a power of 2. So let's just build that in here. So it is x minus the mean and that to the power of 2. So let's do that. So that does not feel correct. That was not the mean, sorry. That was the sum. How easily one can make now mistakes like that. So that was the sum of xi, not the mean of xi. And it's not the mean function, average. Okay, this will be quite different. And if we do the sum of that, let's just see 28.1. Okay, so that is also correct. And when they tell us we need to work out xi, so x minus the mean, and then y minus the y mean. Sure. So again, it is quite a lot of work if you needed to. I don't even think so. Xi, so again, you will not, and this is not on your calculator as well. So this is a lot of work to work this out in any other form. So that's why, again, it will be normally the sum that is wrong, the mean that is wrong, or the slope or the intercept that is wrong, not something like this. But let's just put that formula in. So it is xi minus the mean times y I, so minus the mean of y. Sheesh, this is quite the Okay, and then again for all of them, and then if we get the sum, okay, it is 511. So again, I will just share this with you guys so that you have it. Okay, so that is also correct. So the one that was incorrect is option 4. Okay, so now again, just be careful. So sometimes you now say option 1, 2, 3, 4, A, B, C, D, and you say that one is the incorrect one. But that references option 5. So again, simple mistakes that one can make because it's not in order at all. So again, I don't know why they need to do this like that. I would have just had it as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we know that option 4 is wrong. So that's option 3, option 1, option 4. So C is the incorrect one. So again, just be careful. I know in assignment 1, in some of the work, I showed you guys around box plots as well, where sometimes they reference the box plot number, but it's not ABC, they reference it also, something like this. So just be careful that you do everything correct, but then suddenly with the options, you pick the wrong one because they now did not order it from option 1 to option 5, which again, I don't like, but this was from a previous assignment, I think last year or the year before. So it's not that it was pre-COVID and it was how they did it in paper. It was how it was done in the online exams. And mostly the reason why they do this is so that somebody doesn't SMS somebody else and say question 20 is option 3 or something like that. Okay, but what I will definitely do for Sunday is just go into a bit more of the least square method, and then we will do a few more of these exercises that again covers things that we can do in Excel, but also covers if we need and only get the sum of informations and not the data, so that we just make 100% sure that we can do both if it happens to be like that in the exam. So I am always worried that Sunday will be 9 o'clock, and I will send you guys a link on the WhatsApp group as well. So I hope everybody is on the WhatsApp group, but if you're not and you're listening to this recording later on, send me a WhatsApp on 0837908387 and I will add you to the WhatsApp as well. Okay, so that is it for tonight, everyone. We will definitely go into more detail again on Sunday just to cover everything. And then next week, Thursday, we will have a session so that we prep for assignment. And then we will also, next week, Sunday, have a session again to prep for assignment because you need to hand in the assignment on the Monday. I will already preempt that I will ask the lecturer in any case that we get extension on the assignment, that it is handed in at 12. for everyone that is also working and can't do it before 5. So don't worry about that. I will automatically ask that it is extended for you guys. Okay, cool, everyone. Have a great rest of a week. It's nearly weekend, and then I'll see you guys on Sunday. I will share the recording with you guys, and I will share the presentation. Then I will also